Today we have a crazy confession from a Redditor admitting they caught their friend sleeping with their own sister. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, Dad called for the first time since 1986. My dad called me for the first time since 1986 Friday, my work line. I know because his name showed up on WebEx while I was on a work call. I didn't pick up the phone, and I've not listened to the message, even though he's probably dying, best guess. Honestly, if somebody hasn't called you since 1986, longer than The Simpsons have been around, I think it's more than generous that they even still get called Dad. I've heard people in situations like this use a lot of different names like mom's husband, sperm donor, things like that. Bozo HC commented, I went through something similar, never met my dad, but he called once, from prison. Years later, I got word he was near death and debated whether to go meet him before he passed. I didn't go, and to be honest, I don't regret it, but I do wonder at times what the experience would have been like. So make a decision you can live with, because when it's over, there's no going back. Our next story is, he only wants me because I remind him of my sister and it stings. My sister and I are like night and day, but we do look like twins look-wise. People confuse us. She has a good heart, but sometimes she can be rude and people are intimidated by her. Now she's married. When we were in our early 20s, she would get drunk and call people out or throw drinks, and I'd apologize and clean her mess. I'm more on the shy, warm, and kind side. I'm nice to everyone. She would have two dudes fighting over her, and I just wanted to keep dancing until the morning with the new people I'd met, but sometimes we'd have to leave because of her. It was always the same story, to be honest. So once, we went on a vacation with our family. We stayed at a resort. We met different people our age. She was having dates there with a guy she met there. They wanted to make it work, but it didn't work out between them. We all met with the guy again, but that ended. I always had a crush on him, but he obviously was into my sister and her attitude. Most guys always found her hard to get attitude irresistible, and they would call me to help them make it work for her. She won't answer my calls. Help me, please. You can be my future sister-in-law. Dudes she meets on vacation sometimes from different countries would send her love notes with a postmark, and the first page would say, play this song before you read it. I always say, "Aw, that's so sweet. Did you play the song? It's beautiful." And she would roll her eyes and laugh and say, "Of course not, and I haven't read it either." I'd be there reading her love letters, wishing they were for me. She even ended married to the sweetest guy I used to have a crush on, but he didn't feel the same about me. And now she says I cannot see her because she's a married woman and gets jealous if I wear dresses around her husband, which covers everything. I don't get it. And once, I met this wonderful guy at another resort-like city, and we were taking pictures by the photo booth not far away from her, but she made a scene where she went up to a security and said that she felt dizzy after drinking a shot with a group of guys. So security called me from her phone and said, "We have your sister in the medical tent, head over." I thought the worst, and then I started shaking. The guy was nice enough to accompany me to the medical tent with me, and then she told security, she says she wants this guy you're with gone and exited the premises. She wants you to be alone. The security looked at the guy and said, "You have to leave." I could hear the medical personnel say, "Oh, the sister was getting her mac on with that dude and the poor girl is crying in the tent." First of all, I didn't even kiss him and he was very respectful. They made my potential love interest leave. I was so ticked off, it was always that way. I felt bad they made him leave the premises like he was a criminal. I cried that day. Not the first time she made my potential love interest leave. There were like 3 others I truly liked. He was nice enough the next day to say he wanted to check in and make sure we were okay, and he invited us to breakfast before he left to the airport. We still keep in touch to this day, but she gave him the silent treatment. I was embarrassed, but he stayed. My sister makes jokes about that incident now and says, "That man loved the drama of that night. He wants a repeat." I told her we ran so fast for you, so you were overreacting then. And she said, "Yes, I was upset you left me for him." I told her we were a couple of feet away taking pictures. She hurts my feelings and says, "Men don't like virgins like you." Mind you, she waited for marriage and the husband waited for her years. Even up until the day to the wedding, she'd make scenes where she would tell the husband, "I don't know if it's a good idea to get married or if I'm in love with you." I felt so bad, but she loves drama. She loves that man and is so possessive of him. Now fast forward, the resort guy that used to like me asked me to be his Valentine and we planned to meet. I don't think he ever got over my sister, but he claims I was the one he wanted all along. It's been years since we all met. I told my sister and she said, he's a liar, he's always been into me to the point I had to block him. Plus, he's not good for you. I asked him to tell me if he only claims to like me because I remind him of my sister and he said no, that it was all me all along. But I can't let go of this feeling. I want someone to like me for me, not because I remind them of a certain someone they couldn't have, and I hope this isn't a wicked way of getting what he wanted all along. I'd like to know what everyone in the comments thinks, but I would not give this guy a moment of my time. Like, as far as I'm concerned, if everything OP said is accurate, they already are lying to OP. Like, you know that guy was chasing after OP's sister for him to turn around and say, nah baby, it was you the whole time. Like, it kind of makes you want to throw up a little bit, does it not? Throwaway Gut Feeling 5 commented, was your sister a child bride because she's acting like she's 14? Not like a respectful, mature adult. I believe you when you say she has a good heart, but it sounds to me like she's a bit insecure and needs, even subconsciously, to tear you down. If she offered no explanation as to why he's not good for you, then I would take what she said with a grain of salt. If you like him, it's worth going on the date to see if you guys click. If you don't, lots of people are into the more warm, inviting sort of person, and it might be a sign that you need to start meeting people and giving them an insight into your personality on your own. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy Redditors' crazy confessions, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is First Kiss. Male 23, I know it's a little old to have a first kiss, but oh well, better now than never. I'd been having a fairly crappy week. I got sick, then right as I was recovering from that, I pulled a muscle in my back, all on my week off work. Thankfully, I recovered in time for this little getaway thing me and a few other friends planned. It was a fun time. I don't usually drink, but I thought, freak it, why not this time? Didn't get plastered, but a little tipsy. One of the girls there, Zoe, I'd kinda had a thing for a bit, but when we met up, she had a boyfriend, and when they broke up, I didn't feel right making a move. Me, her, and a couple of other friends were playing Mario Party. I was jokingly freaking with her during mini games and crap by slapping her hand and covering her eyes. I grabbed her controller and pulled it away. She ended up leaning across me to get it back, and while she was there, she looked up at me. I don't know what came over me, but I just leaned down and kissed her. Then she giggled and kissed me back. We didn't say anything about it right away. Our friends were joking around in the group chat about it. One of her friends messaged me after saying she thought it was cute and that apparently everyone in the group thinks me and her would be a good couple. I don't know why that makes me so giddy. The idea that people are thinking and talking about me in a positive way while I'm not there, I don't know, it makes me feel warm. Later that day, well like 3 in the morning actually, me and Zoe were the only ones awake. She rested her head on my shoulder while we sat outside. After a very crappy week and years of crappy things happening and just poor mental health, it's the first time I truly felt at peace in a long freaking time. I'm holding on to that feeling because I know with my brain it won't last. Zoe asked me what I wanted to do in regard to us kissing. I didn't feel brave enough to outright say I wanted her to be my girlfriend, but I did say I felt like being more than friends. She said her last boyfriend was scum, so she doesn't want to rush into anything, but that she felt the same. So we're not officially in a relationship, but testing the waters, I suppose. But I had my first kiss, and I'm dating a genuinely insanely cool and very attractive person. A win is a win. So I think this story is just outright adorable. I was ready for some crazy drama, and then I get a story that makes me want to lay down and kick my feet up in the air. You know, twirl my hair and slide it back behind my ear. That said, our next story is, I can't handle my son anymore. I want to start by saying you don't know anything unless you're in the situation. My son Dylan has level 3 nonverbal autism. He bites, hits, and constantly kicks me. Even though he's 5, he's very strong. I constantly have bruises, he's broken my nose and cracked ribs. I'm in Ontario and there is zero support for my family. Every time I've tried to find respite so I can sit for 1 second, they say he's too high needs. His EA at school, who's a literal angel, takes him sometimes to give me a break. Paid, of course. Both me and my husband's parents are too old to handle his fits of rage. I have a 7-year-old daughter who's typical, and I truly love being around her. With her, I feel like a great involved mom. With my son, I feel anxious, frustrated, imprisoned, and mostly guilty because I don't know what he wants, which leaves us both overstimulated. I don't want advice on where to apply for help. I've applied well over 20 places with no help. I cry most days going between what I can do to make this easier for him and wanting him to move into specialized housing. I'm stuck. I'm a failing mother. Well, let's just say that my feet have stopped kicking in the air now. I would just say to myself that I don't think OP's a failing mother. I think a lot of people, if they found themselves in OP's position, are realistically going to be feeling just about the same way. Like, obviously, you sign up for some level of difficulty and giving yourself to your kids as needlessly as possible, but I think most of us can probably agree that there are circumstances where it rises to the level that you feel like it's okay to sympathize and say it's alright to have these feelings and these thoughts. It's darn hard, right? Troglodyte commented, "You aren't failing, you have a really hard situation, so don't discredit that. Caretaker burnout is real, and especially in cases like this. I don't know how it works in Canada, but I would honestly look into finding an inpatient care facility for your son if you're unable to get a near full-time aide for him. I know that sounds awful, but if you have the means and it's possible in your system that at least gives you a way to have some sort of relationship other than trying to quell these rage fits, finding him somewhere that offers support for him and gives him proper therapy, activities, etc. to help him regulate could be beneficial to the both of you. I'm just spitballing. I hope someone's able to give Canada specific advice on where to apply or what to do. I'm basing this off of what I've seen some parents do in very similar circumstances." The Rest for the Wicked commented, "It would help to know what county in Ontario OP is in. The provincial government famously gutted public funding for families with special needs, and autistic kids were one of the most affected groups when it happened. With a specific country or region, someone may be able to redirect towards nonprofits or private services." Our next story is, "My family hates my brother for dating someone wealthier than us, and it's tearing us apart. I, 35-year-old female, have a younger brother, 27-year-old male, and I've always seen him as the black sheep of the family. He has some learning issues, and he has the lowest level of college education out of me and my siblings. Nothing wrong with that, and he lived at home longer than any of us. My brothers told me that I'm really the only person in the family who actually believed in him and doesn't condescend, and he told me I've always been there for him and unconditionally supportive. Heck, he's told me on several occasions I'm his favorite sibling. He started dating this girl, 26, a bit ago, and I think they're a wonderful couple. They very clearly love each other, and I sincerely hope it works out between the two of them because she's perfect for him and he seems perfect for her. The thing is, she and her family are far wealthier than ours. And from the beginning, I could tell our parents were a little insecure about that. He's also had a lifelong dream of being in the film industry, and she apparently has a family member who has some connections. And as a result, he's consistently worked on TV shows for the past year. I also know when she comes over, she always brings fancy foods that are pretty much always a step above what our mom is capable of cooking. The fact that he's also the only one in the family who doesn't have student debt seems to also be a sore spot with my parents and siblings. His partner has an apartment in Manhattan, and she invited him to move in with her, and he told us he's taking her up on that offer. Tonight we all had dinner together, minus my brother, and we talked about it. From what I could tell, my sister freaking hates him because she's always wanted to live in the city, but doesn't have a job that could maintain that. Our brother freaking hates him for being able to live his dream job while he had to give his up, and our parents seem to freaking hate him because he now has all these opportunities that he didn't work for because he found someone who has money. And of course, there were some snarky comments about how he might only be dating her for her money and they didn't know why she was with him. Every time they made cheap shots at him, I tried to stand up for him, but was met with pushback. By the end of the conversation, it was clear that any defense for him was not welcome and flags are being planted. Afterwards, I called my brother to let him know how proud I am of him and how happy I am for him, and he asked if I could come over sometime to show me the new apartment, and they even invited me to stay a few days in the city at their place. I'm dealing with so much crap right now with my fiance and my job. I seriously don't have the energy to deal with a family civil war. But I don't know what's going to happen. I love my brother and we text pretty much every day, but I also don't want to burn bridges with other people in the family. So I'm frustrated, stressed, scared, and disappointed. Well, that's just an awful family. If he managed to be doing well for himself and had a decent amount of change, I'm sure the entire family would love to love him if he had some handouts to give. At least OP's able to see firsthand how it is with these people if you manage to succeed on your own. Sorry that things worked out so well for that guy and he's not indebted to you in any way. Roman 1969 commented, "So as long as everyone's struggling and miserable, then all's good? When one person appears to find happiness, love, and success, then the family implodes? Well, I'm Camp Little Bro. His girlfriend thinks he's beautiful, and if your family can't see the amazing qualities he has, then they don't deserve him. Sorry, your family sounds terrible." OP responded saying, "Man, his girlfriend is beautiful and has actually done modeling for the New York Times, and my siblings seem to hate that. The fact that he's not just with someone, but someone so good looking." Our next story is, boyfriend of 4 years called me a FB for touching car glass and kicked me out of the car. I drew a small heart on the window of his car and he exploded, said I'm a freaking bench because I don't respect his property. He never touches car glass because it leaves fingerprints and I knew it. I started to say that it hurts to hear these words from him and he said get out of the car. I don't have any keys home and asked him to drive me there if he wants to continue a day without me. He said that I have also an opportunity now to apologize for disrespecting his property and stay. I exploded and left the car and slammed the door. Is it a freaked situation from his side or mine because I disrespected him by touching the glass? Getting in any way upset when somebody puts a fingerprint on your window? Sure, I can understand that, but can we all agree that this guy's reaction is way too aggressive and over the top? Like, concerningly, like OP needs to just stay away and hopefully he would stay away himself? In my opinion, I say honestly, why even involve yourself with somebody with anger issues that bad? Drumpf Tiny Hands commented, "He's hit you before, hasn't he? This is called escalation and you need to taper this whole crap off and find better. Remember that you can't find better if you're still tethered to a human-sized piece of crap." Critical DeRollo commented, "If this is how he responds, he's going to end up beating her while driving the car. He will lose his temper and will lash out. While driving is an easy leap to make because you're generally stuck in a seatbelt and inside the car, they hit you, they realize they have instant access to keep doing it, and so they keep doing it until they either gain control of themselves or have hurt you enough that they feel sated. Keep in mind that these are not generally conscious decisions they make, but reactions they take to something they see as a threat, disrespect included. In their mind, your actions force them to act, and therefore any reaction is justified because you caused it. You cannot make them understand that you did not cause it until they have enough self-awareness to confront themselves. That's incredibly difficult to do, much like breaking an addiction. I say this because by understanding this, you may be able to respond in a way that de-escalates the situation until you can leave the situation. Sometimes this might mean just being quiet or apologizing. Your goal in that moment needs to be to leave the situation, not to try to argue or convince. You cannot argue and convince people when they're in the fight portion of fight, flight, or freeze. Logic is gone in that situation, and de-escalation so you can leave should be your goal. Good luck to OP, please leave. Men like that are the ones who end up doing their partners in a fit of rage. They can't control themselves, so there's no chance you can sway them. Our next story is, I've been child-free all my life, but dang, do I not want to use that term anymore. Just complaining, I remembered some child-free forums and peeked inside for the first time in years. I made the decision as a really young child myself to never have children of my own when I grew up. Lots of reasons, but the main ones summarized are fear of pregnancy, fear of having someone dependent on me and making parenting mistakes, and honestly, just selfishness. I love and need my free time, my peace and quiet. I'm autistic and other things, and literally shut down both mentally and physically if I don't have it for long. Awful mental health spirals and prolonged aches and pains from stress targeting every piece of me. But some child-free people are just horrid. The child-free movement, lack of a better term, is one based on fighting back against the misogynistic idea that all women must have children. But ironically, misogyny is rampant in those spaces, reducing pregnant women or moms to shrill, entitled benches demanding better treatment because they dared to get knocked up, calling kids it, or gross sexual terms like crotch goblin, just disrespecting so many people in general. I don't call myself child-free because I don't want to be associated with jerks like them. Pregnancy and children are not for me, but mothers and kids still need to be respected. It's not going to unalive me to let a pregnant woman take my seat or for a baby in the store to cry. Even if it does hurt my ears a ton, I wish there was a place for child-free people that wasn't like that. I think OP's completely valid here. I think honestly most of us, maybe not to the degree OP's experiencing it themselves, but that we'll always find some kind of category that we find ourselves fitting in that typically is going to be described in some extremely unsavory, unsatisfying, upsetting way. I was going to try to come up with an example, but I feel like I would just be perpetuating things doing so. Hot Chip Summer commented, "Hard agree. I'm child-free, but I don't hate children, and I think they all need to be treated with compassion and empathy just like their parents." Can kids be annoying? Yes. Can parents be entitled and condescending? Absolutely. But the terms crotch goblin and breeder? Just what the actual freak? Any child-free group I join is riddled with terms like these, and they share any meme that portrays parenting as hard and write scathing comments that all amount to, "Shoulda thought of that before you had a baby." Our next story is, why are you on a diet? Your thighs don't even touch. Today I had to spend my lunch hour in the break room. I usually sit at my desk, but tech had to fix something on my computer. I would go to my car, but it was freezing today and I'm trying to conserve my gas. I'll end up walking to work in a few days, but I'm trying to make it last. I hate the break room. We have a little cafe/convenience type store inside and everything smells so good it's torture. I figured since I actually brought something to eat, it wouldn't be too bad. I brought a sleeve of saltines. It was the only thing I could bring from the food pantry box that I could somewhat chew because of a dental issue I'm having. As soon as I sat down, my coworkers started teasing me. "Wow, you're in the trenches today. Hide your food, guys. You couldn't splurge for ramen? Why are you on a diet? Your thighs don't even touch. Just not hungry today?" One of them was eating very dramatically, like his food was the best thing in the world, and it made me super uncomfortable. I tried to laugh it all off and just eat my crackers, but the lump in my throat was making it difficult, so I went and sat in my cold car. I'd usually call my mom to vent or distract me, but she took her life 2 months ago. So I sat and thought of all the things I should have said, but knew if I tried, I'd start crying in front of everyone. Of course I'm freaking hungry. Borderline starving. My diet consists of whatever food the pantry gives us that my daughter doesn't like, and I eat what she doesn't finish. I know my thighs don't touch. I've lost a lot of weight to the point where my underwear is baggy. I love food. A huge foodie actually, but I can't afford to eat what I need to, let alone what I want. I thought maybe they would feel bad or something, but about 2 hours after lunch, one of them stopped by my desk to ask if I was hungry enough to chew my arm off yet. I know they thought they were just being funny, like hee hee ha ha, but I don't find food insecurity anything to joke about. The only time an adult should be playfully mocked is if they heat up fish in the microwave. Am I just being too insensitive? Should I have just sat there instead of running into my car? Am I overreacting? I would genuinely like to know if people think I'm completely off base by suggesting this, but I think maybe they were saying that and acting like that because they assumed OP has some kind of eating issue. I feel like they're thinking those things and doing those things because they're just assuming OP is actually just choosing that diet, as opposed to food insecurity. Also, let me clarify, that is not a valid reason for them to act like that. It's just in their twisted, messed up minds, justifiable and funny to them. I'm not saying OP needs to go around advertising their situation, and obviously, it's very uncomfortable to do so, but it might make them shut up pretty quickly if they understand that's not a choice you're actively making. That's just all the food you literally have. Also, can I just say, it's heartbreaking to hear that OP's working a desk job and is in a financial situation where they have to rely on what the pantry can give them. Bugs Cuz commented, "I've been in this position twice and let my petty take over both times. The first time I looked the person teasing dead in the eye and said, 'I'm not on a diet, I'm poor.' And when he tried to make a joke again a few months later, I said, 'Are you offering to buy me lunch?' In that case, thanks. I haven't eaten anything in 3 days because I had to make sure my child ate." Freak people like that. It's not funny in any situation. Sophia F88 commented, "Also, look. A few of them might still make jokes despite knowing your situation, but chances are most of them would never say things like that if they knew. You may even have someone try to share their snacks or lunch in the future, if they were aware. And as for anyone else who continues to tease after being informed you're not hungry by choice, is a massive jerk and deserves no consideration on your part. Our next story is, I saw my best friend going to town on my sister. Should I tell them? I'm a 25-year-old woman with a 28-year-old sister. We've always been close. We grew up with just our mom. Our dad left when we were little. The three of us have always been tight-knit. I also have a best friend from high school around my age. We even work together too. She's also friendly with my sister. Didn't think they would end up being as friendly as I saw them, but anyway. I thought I knew almost everything about them, but I clearly didn't. Anyway, enough about us. One day, my friend invited the both of us over to her apartment. It was fun per usual. We were just sitting around, talking and eating. It was going great until my friend looked at my sister and said, "Hey, sister's name, I need help with something upstairs. Could you help me real quick?" I jokingly said, "Forget me, huh?" She just responded saying that she always bothers me, so she decided to ask my sister for help this time. I should have gotten suspicious when she didn't outright tell me what was going on, but my sister seemed eager to help, so she said she'll take a look. Okay, cool, I guess. Time went by and I didn't really notice because my mom ended up calling me on my phone shortly after they left, and we had a conversation that lasted a good 20 to 30 minutes. We talk a lot. After I hung up, I noticed they were still upstairs. I decided to see what was taking so long and to scare them because I'm childish like that. As I was walking to my friend's room, I noticed her door was slightly open. I was almost gonna leave, assuming they were doing something important, until I clearly heard happy noises coming from my sister, and more swear words than I've ever heard come out of her mouth. I'm not dumb. I knew what was going on. I have a boyfriend, for freak's sake. I have no idea why I decided to sneak a peek into the little gap in the door, but I regret it. My friend was clearly satisfying my sister. I almost ran downstairs on my tippy toes so I didn't make any noise. Anyway, 10 minutes went by afterwards and I was sitting there with my eyes open like, what the freak? First of all, I didn't know either of them were into girls, let alone each other. Not that I'd care, but I can't look at them the same way now. They did come downstairs and I pretended I was sleepy and needed to go home because it was just too weird. I gave them quick hugs and got the freak out of there. They don't know I saw. Stupid me, why did I ever look? But I don't know if I should take this to the grave with me or tell them. What would you do, Reddit? So I can obviously only speak for myself. If I were in that situation, it's going to the grave with me. I'm gonna try whatever I can to forget that memory, move on from it. If something between them spins up, that's great. I will begin my Oscar-worthy acting prep of acting as surprised and enthusiastic as possible, not knowing the images that are inevitably seared into my mind. Turbulent Web 635 commented, "It's great that you were a good sport about it and still love them both. Maybe it's just me, but personally I think it's still a bit odd and disrespectful for them to just kind of run off in the middle of hanging out with you just to be intimate upstairs. You're all adults and they can meet up and do that on their own time. If you're open to talking to them about it, you can bring it up and preface it with the fact that you don't care and love them both. It would just be appreciated if they did it somewhere else or another time when you weren't in the house, instead of just ditching you to go hook up upstairs." But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Redditor confession, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.